You're listening to the Coach's Journey podcast, exposing the struggles and celebrating the successes in the life of coaches who are action takers and creating authentic impact in today's world. Whether you're just starting out, expanding your reach, or exploding your impact, you're in the right place right now. Stay tuned and be sure to subscribe to this podcast. Now, here are your hosts of the Coach's Journey podcast.
I love that. Part of the value, well, I think a significant part of the value of being in a community of coaches, which the Coaching Mastery community is, it's a community, it's an implementation community of international coaches that we give each other such good feedback. And no matter which side you're on, I've been on both. I've been on the self-doubt, and then I've had coaches speak it to me and say, you're better than you think you are. And it took a while, and it took a lot of hearing that in some of these situations for me to be like, oh, okay. So let me lean into my experience a little bit more and just kind of ignore that feeling of self-doubt a little bit more. And then there've been other times where I'm like, I got this. I can totally do this. And then afterwards I'm like, oh my gosh, like I had more confidence that was not deserved. But being in a group of coaches that are able to speak to both of those sides, you have a lot more skill set than you give yourself credit for. And also, wow, like there's some things for you to learn. And here, let's learn them together. There's people around me that are also trying to learn those things. I would say the biggest learning curve for me, kind of in the most recent, was shifting from largely doing individual work to doing group work. And I remember saying at the very beginning of all of that, I'm like, I don't do good at managing lots of different people. I remember that specifically because I have memories of doing groups where like one person would interact a certain way and would like dominate. And like I'm much more of like a passive, maybe that's not quite the right word, but I'm very reflective. I kind of observe what's going on, and I'm not like super aggressive in sessions and like trying to manage and direct people. And so often I would feel like people are just running over me and they're just overtaking. That was all a skill set thing. And so the more that I've done it, the better I've gotten. And so now I'm like, yeah, I can jump in any group and I think I can do pretty good with it and help people leave the group experience, with something that they can take away after that. That was just literally practice and doing reps and getting better at the skills. It wasn't anything else. And so then my confidence as a result has improved. And so it wasn't I came into this thinking I'm, all that in a bag of chips. It was I had to earn that right in my own mind to be self-confident. So, but in that whole journey, that self-doubt had a function because I'm like, I don't know that I'm good at this, so I better figure something out. And which propelled me to then get support, to ask a lot of questions, to observe things, to learn. I mean, there's just so many things in that process. So let that self-doubt motivate you to getting the skills that then help kind of erase that self-doubt a little bit more.
Yeah, and you also, I love this, and you also highlighted another point in there that's really profound. Coaches also tend to have this other. I've talked to way too many coaches. I spent about a week with 500 something coaches. So you hear certain things, and I've heard these things so many times. So, for example, coaches will bring personality types a lot. You're like, oh well, I'm a highly sensitive person, or I'm introverted, or somehow they've become the cool things to be. I'm not saying people are not that, and I'm introverted as well. By the way, there's a spectrum there. So I'm about 60% introverted. If you look at the personality, if I do a personality test, but there are certain times I don't feel like that. I feel very extroverted. There are certain times I do not want to have anything to do with people. So my introverted side comes up. There are certain times where I want to just dance and do stuff. It's like have fun and joke around, poke around with people. Certain times I want to challenge people. There are different sides to us. So a lot of times what coaches tend to do, they box themselves in without realizing it. And in areas that they also box their clients into. And I've had multiple conversations, like when you kind of, and what you highlighted there, Sherry, is that a lot of what we're doing are actually skill sets that you develop.
Yeah.
I am introverted, but I had to develop the skill set of speaking a certain way or talking to people a certain way. That was a hard skill set for me to learn. But once I understood how it works, it was just a skill set. Their skill sets around sales, around negotiation, their skill sets around speaking. It doesn't matter what kind of personality you have, you can develop them. But when you attach your identity to something specific, forget the fluidity and the way our mind can expand in different ways. And it's something we think that coaches should know, but the amount of times that I've heard this, that, hey, well, I'm a highly sensitive person, I can't do this. I'm introverted, I can't do this. I'm extroverted, I can't do this. So can you learn? And
Yeah.
if you're open to learning and if you're open to challenging yourself, you can show up in a lot of different ways that you didn't think you were before. And you will freak yourself out in the process too.
I love that. And what I'm hearing is that even so, let's use the example of a new coach. Even a new coach coming into the coaching world, they may feel a significant amount of self doubt. But one thing that I have worked with some coaches on is what are the skill sets that you have in life already, and how can those show up in coaching? Because a lot of times I've noticed that other coaches don't necessarily think that way. I've seen you do this too with investors that, an engineer now shifts into becoming an investor and they feel a lot of self doubt. Good grief. Like as an engineer, how analytical and you see, I mean, there's such good skill sets in their experience as an engineer that directly translate into being an investor. Well, as a coach, you have a lot of life experiences and things that you have grown in that are directly transportable into your coaching business. So give yourself some credit, recognize those things because that can help give you a little bit more self-confidence enough to push through the times when you feel that doubt in the areas that maybe you legitimately do need to grow in your skill set. So it's not an all or nothing. As I was kind of hearing you say, if I saw that, there's different things that you might be good at and different things that you're not. And just recognize and celebrate that it's not all self-doubt. There's really something you've got to use.
Yeah, I love that. And the things and like I believe in amplifying the things that we're good at and being open to the things that we're not good at to improve in. And maybe you won't get it to 100%, but you will get it to a certain amount that will help you become functional enough so you can bring other people around you who are much better at that. So you can, when you can grow as a business or something, so they can help you in that process. There are certain things I love being and doing. There are certain things I don't. But in the process of building a business, I had to develop a bunch of skill sets that I didn't even like in the process. For example, I didn't like being on video, but I had to learn. I knew that I needed to learn if I wanted to do the thing that was connected to my mission. I wanted to directly look at people and talk to them, which was the scariest thing for me to do. Not just the easier thing for me to have done would have been to just become a writer and write blogs, because that would have been money. I'm very analytical. I can think, I can go deeper, I can do a lot of things. But then the scary thing would be is to talk to people. Now I can't shut up. So that's but it's funny how that happened in that process because I had to be open to it. So if we were to summarize, all that we're saying here is that as you're jumping into this new path or as you're trying to develop your identity as a new coach, bring the things that you've worked on already, your strengths. Be open to what you're growing into. If you have doubt, keep moving forward even with that doubt. If you have fears, keep moving forward with those fears. If you have disconnection with the process, keep going forward, because ultimately what matters is your purpose. What are you trying to do? And if you can keep taking steps forward despite those things, you have the ability to make those decisions consistently. And as you do this, you develop the evidence to prove to yourself that you can build this out.
Absolutely.
And it's possible.
And if you're not sure how to do that on your own, I don't blame you. Doing it on your own is hard. And at some level is I quite think is going to be impossible. Join the Coaching Mastery community. First step is join the Facebook group. We got lots of free, amazing content. If you want a lot more depth in the support, we've got other opportunities. But just join the Facebook group, Step 1, Coaching Mastery community. You will get a lot of support there. You'll start to be able to interact with coaches that are doing things and kind of start to see things. And it'll be an amazing, amazing next step for you.
Yes. And we're excited to see you on the other side. Make sure you like and share this. A lot of coaches need to hear this. That's our mission, to help them understand that they don't need to do this alone and they don't need to feel like they can't do this. And we have solutions to a lot of the things that they're trying to do. So make sure you share this with your friends, colleagues, that you've connected with. And until our next conversation, hope you have an incredible day.
Bye.
You're listening to the Coach's Journey Podcast.